Hello, and welcome to Rethinking Our History, where we seek to shed a light on events that have been forgotten and covered up, and to make us all question how much do we really know about our history? I'm Felicia.
And I'm Ian, and we are here to reveal all the sordid details of history that have been swept under the rug. Get ready to get angry, be curious, and maybe have a laugh or two as we rethink our history.
Hello, friends.
Hey guys.
Thanks for joining us for another lesson, episode 38. I'm not old, I'm only 38. 'Tis my age for the next month and a half.
He was oppressing me.
This week, we're going to look at the life of a woman that changed the way people saw a certain position within the U.S. But first, let's get the business out of the way. If you found us here first and are a fan of the paranormal, give our show, The Paranormal Lovers, a try. Over 100 episodes about everything from the suicide forest in Japan to the legend of the Balsam Mountain Inn. If you would please be so kind, give us a like and follow on the social medias. We are most active on Facebook and Instagram, and we also have videos on YouTube. To find us on any of these platforms, just search for The Paranormal Lovers in the search bar. If you would like to support the making of these shows, we have a couple different ways for you to do so. First, we have our merch store at theparanormallovers.threadless.com. We currently have a sale going on that ends Wednesday. $13 tees, $15 V-necks and tanks, and $5 mini prints. Again, the sale will end on August 13th, so get your merch while it lasts. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/paranormal lovers, where for $5 a month you get early access to unedited videos of both shows, a bi weekly show called Why Do Men, as well as stickers and other swag from time to time.
Stickers.
Stickers. And finally, if you have a personal story, be it true crime, paranormal, or historical, you want to be a guest on the show, or you just want to chat, email us at theparanormallovers@yahoo.com.
I gotta email that one dude.
The Wizard,
Well, yeah, him and there
the
was
other
another.
guy.
The other guy seemed more interesting about UFOs and stuff.
I don't know. See, I didn't even know the Wizard was the Wizard, but when I was walking around with Patty at Pride,
You're like, ooh,
I
I like
saw
his
him
outfit.
and I looked at him and I just said, I love all of you. I love all of this. All of you. I just love you.
Yeah, that
And he
dude
was
was
like, I
interesting.
love you too. He was like walking around with a staff. He was wearing tie dye and like patchy pants. He had crazy white hair. It was beautiful.
Yeah, that dude had stories. Like you
Mm,
could tell.
hmm
Like he wasn't telling them, but he was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, I go on podcasts and stuff like that sometimes."
he was real cool. So, during the research for my last Paranormal Lovers episode, I ran across a line about Jim Jones. If you haven't listened,
Mm-hmm.
go listen to that episode. What are y'all doing? Being inspired by a speech, the First Lady, be inspired by a speech from the First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt. I didn't do spell check on this, so this is just another story I've heard recently about Eleanor and all she did for this country, so I wanted to go deeper and learn about the woman herself. Many times women and their work are overlooked when they have such a powerful figure for a husband, but Eleanor is one who stands out as a powerhouse herself, making her and her husband the 32nd president of the United States, Franklin Roosevelt, quite the power couple. Anne Anna Eleanor Roosevelt was born on October 11th, 1884 in Manhattan, New York. Her parents were socialites Anna Rebecca Hall and Elliot Roosevelt. From a young age, Eleanor preferred to be called by her middle name. Eleanor was born into a family that had already been touched by politics and fame. Eleanor was the niece to, can you guess who Eleanor's uncle was? Her father was
No clue.
Elliot Roosevelt.
Okay.
So her uncle was President Teddy Roosevelt on her father's side. And on
Gotcha.
her mother's side, she was related to tennis greats, and I know nothing about tennis other than John McEnroe and the Venus sister or the Serena or the Williams sisters. Jesus. Tennis greats Valentine Gill Valley Hall the third and Edward Ludlow Hall. Eleanor's mother was distant with her daughter, and she had nicknamed Granny because she was such a serious child. It is also said that Anna was ashamed of her daughter's quote unquote plainness. This is due to the family being a part of New York City high society known as the Swells. This is the society Trump wishes he could be a part of.
Right.
He's like one of those people that gets money and he tries to be rich and wealthy, but he's really obnoxious about it.
Yeah, and then he goes bankrupt.
Yeah, and these are the ones that have like old world money and they're just you can just feel it rolling off of them when they walk down the street. You know what I mean?
Kind of reading a book with Patty about that.
Which one?
Something Society
The Locke
Truth.
Society or something like that, wasn't it?
I can't remember
Yeah,
the name, but yeah.
that's interesting. I know. I bring home all these books for him to read to Patty, and I'm like, "Oh, what are you reading?" Eleanor had three brothers: Elliot Jr., Gracie Hall, and Elliot Roosevelt Mann. Mann was Eleanor's half brother, born from an affair that Elliot Sr. had with family employee Kathy Mann.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Drama.
listen, it continues. On May 19th, 1887, 2-year-old Eleanor was on the SS Britannic with her parents and aunt when the ship collided with White Star Line SS Celtic. Eleanor and her family were lowered to a lifeboat, taken aboard the Celtic, and returned to New York City.
Wait, wasn't the Queen Mary collided with like a starliner?
Maybe I think the Titanic was a Starliner.
Hmm.
I think the Titanic was from the White Star Line.
I think so was the Queen Mary,
Yeah, maybe.
because
Yeah, I feel like that's right.
like they merged with them or something.
Yeah. This event left Eleanor with a lifelong fear of ships and the open ocean, which, like, I can imagine. Terrifying.
Sure.
On December 7th, 1892, Anna Hall died of diphtheria.
Oh no.
And in May of 92, Elliot Jr. died of the same disease. Elliot
Shoot.
Sr. had been confined to a sanitarium due to alcoholism. Now, this shit's. People don't realize if you have somebody that is a severe alcoholic, they cannot go through withdrawals without medical intervention.
Right.
And even when they have medical intervention, doesn't always help.
No.
While in detox, Elliot was suffering from delirium tremens, which we had talked about with the Bill W episode on the other podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a state of confusion they get as their body goes through withdrawals.
Right.
And he jumped out of a window.
Oh boy.
While he survived the initial fall on August 14th, 1894, Elliot would pass away shortly after from a seizure. Oh, excuse me.
Yep. Alcoholics can have seizures too.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure, like, with him going through detox and the fact that he jumped out of a fucking window, and this wasn't like first floor, he was on like the third floor or some shit. So he got hurt.
Yeah.
And you add that in with your body going through detox. Not great. Because see, what happens, folks, is when alcoholics have a lot of alcohol, their body kind of becomes used to it. And when they don't have it, their body goes into shock. And I don't think people realize that's what happened when people go through extreme detox. Your body goes into shock.
Yeah.
Before Elliot died, he asked Eleanor to watch over her half brother, Elliot Mann, and to care for him as a mother would. And she did just that, taking care of him for the rest of her life. After her parents' death, Eleanor moved in with her maternal grandmother, Mary Livingston Ludlow Hall.
Miss Livingston.
No, Mary Livingston Ludlow Hall, Miss Hall, in Tivoli, New York. Don't come at me if I said that wrong. I'm sorry. She was tutored privately until she went to Allenswood Academy at 15. This was a private finishing school in London. The headmistress of the school was Marie Silvestri, who was known to teach young girls to think for themselves. Marie took a special interest in Eleanor, and the two would remain friends until Marie's death in 1905. After her death, Eleanor kept a picture of Marie on all of her desks and kept their letters her whole life. Eleanor found her place at this school. Her cousin Corrine Rollins was there for a bit at the same time and said, quote, Roosevelt was everything at the school. She was beloved by everybody, end quote. Eleanor would have liked to stay at Allenswood, but in 1902 she was summoned home by her grandmother for her social debut. Sorry. I just it makes me think of like Southern debutantes and stuff, but this is like New York rich high society debutante instead of like Southern old school debutante. I don't know. At 17, Eleanor returned to the US to attend a debutante ball held at the Waldorf Astoria on December 14th, 1902. There was a party later held in her honor, which Eleanor did not enjoy at all. Quote, it was simply awful. It was a beautiful party, of course, but I was so unhappy because a girl who comes out is so utterly miserable if she does not know all the young people. Of course, I had been so long abroad that I had lost touch with all the girls I used to know in New York. I was miserable through all that, end quote. And I didn't really write about this. Eleanor, I don't think Eleanor was ugly, but she wasn't conventionally attractive. I
Right.
would say she was a very handsome woman, and she kinda knew that, and she kinda didn't feel great about herself in that regard, but she also knew that, like, looks ain't everything.
Yeah.
In 1901, the first chapter of the Junior League was opened in New York City. This organization aimed to, quote, "improving communities and the social, cultural, and political fabric of civil society," end quote. Eleanor was introduced to the league by her friend and the founder of the league, Mary Harriman. Another reason Eleanor decided to get involved was when her uncle complained that the league was, quote, drawing young women into public activity, end quote. Heaven forbid a young woman go out and get involved in her community.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
She can't get her hands dirty.
No, she shouldn't do that. The summer of 1902, Eleanor met her sixth cousin, Franklin Roosevelt, on a train. The two began a secret relationship, and on November 22nd, 1903, the two got engaged.
Oh boy.
Y'all want to know how white people have kept power for so long?
Kept it in the
They keep
family.
marrying inside their family line. They're like, oh, you're like a third. If it's after third cousin, then it doesn't count. Motherfucker, if your name is, if you got cousin in your title in relation to me, we're not dating.
No.
Franklin's mother, Sarah Ann Delano, was opposed to the marriage. Not sure why. Could be the family relation, or she was just an overbearing bitch. Who knows? But she even went as far as taking Franklin on a Caribbean cruise to try and change his mind. Look, you can have all these brown women after we colonize their land. Why do you want to have that one? Because she's my cousin and I love her, mother. The wedding date was set to accommodate Teddy Roosevelt's schedule because, he was the president and her uncle. They were married on March 17th, 1905, in New York City, as Teddy would be there for St. Patrick's Day. His attendance at the wedding made front page news. When asked his thoughts on the Roosevelt Roosevelt Union, the President of the United States said, and I quote, it's a good thing to keep the name in the family, end quote. So, yeah, there's that.
All right then.
See, you got the Roosevelts over here that are like, we're going to marry our cousins. And then you got like Jeffrey Epstein over here who's like, I want to spread my seed across the world. He wanted to make like a baby farm on his island.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever did that. And
Right.
now he never will.
No.
Because he did not kill himself.
No.
Oh, so
Or
release the files.
Or work with Trump.
Oh, no, we know he worked with Trump. He did not kill himself.
I'm not talking about in that way.
The new couple had a quote unquote preliminary honeymoon of 1 week at Hyde Park.
Epstein and Trump? Just kidding.
Probably. Probably. Nah, you ain't kidding. We being serious. Probably. No, the new couple, Eleanor and Franklin.
Okay.
No, listen to that again. They had a preliminary honeymoon of 1 week in Hyde Park before they temporarily settled into an apartment in the city. That summer, they took a quote unquote formal honeymoon,
Right on.
a 3-month tour of Europe.
Hell yeah.
I want to be that kind of rich
Hell
that I
yeah.
can take a preliminary honeymoon, just a 1 week honeymoon, and then a few months later, we're going to take a 3-month honeymoon.
I mean,
What
he
the
was the
fuck is
president,
that?
right?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Well, what did they do then? They not have jobs?
He was in politics, but
Oh,
he wasn't
okay.
the president yet. And no, women didn't work then.
Yeah.
Early 1900s, no, women didn't work. They were
Right.
homemakers.
Except for Eleanor. She was doing community shit, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll get to it. When the couple returned, they moved into a house in Hyde Park given to them by Sarah. The downside to this house was that it was attached to another house by a sliding door, and Sarah lived on the other side. Eleanor and Sarah had a rough relationship from the start. Sarah ran both households for over a decade after the wedding. Eleanor once broke down and told Franklin, quote, I do not like to live in a house which is not in any way mine, one that I had done nothing about and which did not represent the way I want to live, end quote.
Damn.
Yeah. Sadly for her, nothing changed after that. In fact, it only got worse when they had children. The couple had 6 children: Anna, James, Franklin, Elliot, Franklin Jr., and John. James recalled Sarah once telling them, quote, Your mother only bore you. I am more your mother than your mother is, end quote.
Holy shit, I bet that was depressing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Bitch, excuse me?
Mm,
Even without Sarah's interventions, however, Eleanor struggled with motherhood in general. She wrote later in life, quote, It did not come naturally to me to understand little children or to enjoy them, end quote. And to that I say, same, sis, same. I don't think it's talked about enough how some people don't get an instant maternal bond
right.
as soon as your kid is born, and it can kind of take years for you to bond with them and enjoy that aspect, especially when you're fucking doing it. And I don't mean like when you as a couple or as a single parent are doing it alone and you have no tribe and village. It's real fucking hard.
Yeah.
Thankfully, these people were rich. So,
Right.
um, I'm also seeing a little bit of a side quest here.
I mean, being a parent's not cut and dry.
No, it's not, and it's not easy, and people don't talk about the hard parts enough.
Yeah.
It's not always easy. Most days is a struggle, especially like for the first 10 years. And then
So what's
after
your side quest?
that, I'm seeing neurodivergent traits with Eleanor.
Mhm.
Like, she was a very serious child. She didn't bond well with her children. She had an extreme sense of social justice. But considering autism wasn't identified until 1943 and ADHD did not get into the DSM-5 until 1968, she obviously there was no way to diagnose her. Kinda wish we could though. I think she may have been autistic or
Yeah.
something. In September of 1918, Eleanor was unpacking Franklin's luggage when she ran across a stack of love letters.
Uh-oh.
These letters were written to Franklin by Lucy Mercer. And Lucy was not just some random woman Franklin run into on the street one day. Oh no. Lucy was Eleanor's personal social secretary.
Uh-oh. He was diddling the secretary.
He couldn't have diddled his own secretary. He had to diddle Eleanor's
He
secretary.
had to diddle his wife's secretary.
Franklin had considered even leaving Eleanor for Lucy, but his political advisor, Lewis Howe, advised against that. Also, although she was against the marriage and treated Eleanor like shit, Sarah threatened to disinherit Franklin if he got a divorce. Probably more to do with like their image.
Yeah.
versus actually caring for their fucking marriage. But while the couple stayed married,
Drama.
it became more of a political partnership at this point than a romantic relationship. After this, Eleanor wholeheartedly threw herself into social work. In August of 1921, the family was vacationing at their summer home in New Brunswick, Canada, when Franklin was diagnosed with polio. It is said that it was the care Eleanor gave him during this time that saved his life. He would become paralyzed from the waist down, but he lived. And you know why we don't have polio anymore, folks?
Vaccines.
Vaccines.
Mhm.
While Sarah wanted Franklin to retire and move to the country to live out his life as a country gentleman, Eleanor encouraged him to stay in politics. And this was a turning point in the relationship between Sarah and Eleanor. As Eleanor stepped out into the public more and became her own person, she was able to get out from under Sarah's control. I heard scream. I just got to make sure that was happy screaming. I guess there ain't no more screaming. So, oh yeah, she good. Okay. Tensions got so bad due to Eleanor's new political friends. The family had a new home built where Eleanor could host and entertain her friends. Cause wouldn't you know, she's a dirty Democrat. And I've said it several times, and I'll say it again. The parties flipped, and this is when the parties flipped. I
Yeah.
believe it was Eleanor who flipped these fucking parties.
Hmm.
Franklin encouraged Eleanor to cultivate a property where she could employ local workers. Every year, Eleanor held a picnic at the property she had named Valkill for delinquent boys, and every year her granddaughter Eleanor Roosevelt Seagraves would assist her. The Eleanors, as I like to call them, were incredibly close, and the younger Eleanor went into teaching to help carry on her grandmother's legacy. And I will forewarn you, the dates kind of bounce around a little bit, but shit happens. 1924, Eleanor campaigned for Democrat Alfred E. Smith during his run for re-election for the governor of New York State. This caused a rift in the Roosevelt family as Smith was running against her first cousin, Republican Theodore Roosevelt Jr.
Hmm.
Did you know there was a Theo Jr.?
No.
I didn't either. Because he didn't make it very far. Theo never forgave her for this, which, like, suck a dick. As a young woman, Eleanor held anti-Semitic views. In one letter she wrote to Sarah, she said, quote, "The Jewish party is appalling. I never wish to hear money, jewels, or stables mentioned again," end quote. When Eleanor became co-owner of the Todd Hunter School, only a few Jewish students were allowed in, and those were typically the children of people within her high society social circle. She once said, quote, "The spirit of the school would be different if we had a large portion of Jewish children," end quote.
Hmm.
However, as Eleanor got older and her social circle grew, it included some Jewish peoples. By the time she became the first lady, at least publicly, she was speaking out against anti-Semitism, and when the Second World War hit, she advocated for more Jewish refugees to be brought to the US. 1920, Franklin had been chosen as the running mate of James M. Cox. This would be the first time Eleanor made a campaign appearance, but definitely not the last. Cox lost this election to Warren G. Harding.
Warren G.
I was like, "Isn't that a musician?" No, that was a president, dumbass.
I was trying to think
Warren
of a
G
Warren
is a
G song to
musician.
sing.
After Franklin's illness left him using a wheelchair, Eleanor began attending events on his behalf. She also began fundraising for the Women's Trade Union League and throughout the 1920s became a leader in the New York State Democratic Party.
Wow, she was busy.
She has no fucking chill. Also, keep in mind, she has 6 kids.
Right.
Through her, Franklin garnered support for future political campaigns. In 2020 or 2000, not even fucking close.
2020,
1924.
year of our COVID Lord.
Oh god. Eleanor once again campaigned for Smith against her cousin Theo. Franklin spoke out against Theo due to his time in the Navy during the Teapot Dome scandal. I don't know what the fuck it was. I looked at it and I was like,
Sounds fun.
"All right." Theo in turn insulted Franklin. In retaliation, Eleanor followed Theo on his campaign trail wearing a hat. It was a paper mache bonnet shaped like a teapot that blew out fake steam,
Nice.
and she would hold counter speeches to his everywhere he went.
See, that's what somebody needs to do to Trump. Just straight up
They'd get
troll his
killed.
ass.
They would die.
Just like troll right behind him.
Like, this
Like,
ain't 1924. This is 2024.
I mean,
They will die. Um, Eleanor would later say these things were beneath her and claim that they had been contrived by, quote, Democratic Party dirty tricksters, end quote. I mean, you do what you gotta do.
yeah,
Once again, Theo lost his election to Smith, and by 1928, the Roosevelts were both backing Smith for presidency, while simultaneously campaigning for Franklin's run for governor. While Smith lost his election, Franklin won the governorship. During his term, Eleanor would travel the state giving speeches and inspecting state facilities. She would then report her findings to Franklin when she returned. In 1927, Eleanor took on two new projects. First, her, Marion Bickerman, and Nancy Cook went in together to buy the Toddard School for Girls, which I'd mentioned earlier. This was a finishing school that offered college preparatory courses. Eleanor taught at the school during Franklin's term as governor, but was forced to stop when he became president. That same year, she established Valkill Industries. She once again partnered with Marion and Nancy, but also brought in Caroline O'Day. The women financed the construction of a small factory where local workers could supplement their income, making goods such as furniture, pewter, and homespun cloth.
hmm,
Unfortunately, after health issues and due to the Great Depression in 1938, the women dissolved the partnership. On March 4th, 1933, Eleanor became the 32nd official First Lady of the United States of America when Franklin became inaugurated.
nice.
I say official because, fun fact, did you know we had 8 presidents before George Washington?
Nope, didn't know that.
I will be covering that in a future episode. She was known as the reluctant First Lady, as up until this point, the First Lady had basically been a prop. The most they were expected to do was host and run the household. But Eleanor was encouraged to make her own way as First Lady. She did and became one of the most controversial First Ladies in all of history. Eleanor and Franklin both received criticism for her running businesses and having a lengthy speaking agenda. How dare you let your wife out of the house to talk to people? The fucking audacity. I saw a video on yesterday on Instagram, I think. It was this white dude and he had this beautiful black wife and she was in a carnival outfit, which if you know carnival, it's like a bikini and it's
Yeah.
all done up. And somebody was like, "You let her out of the house like that?" He was like, "Let." He's like, "I'm like, I want the rest of the why would I keep this from the rest of the world?" Like, that's what I don't
Like,
get.
it was my idea.
He's like, just go on with it. Just go on with it. He's like, I love it. It was cute. I need to follow them. She was the first presidential spouse to hold regular press conferences, and in 1940, she became the first spouse to speak at a National Party convention. She also wrote, check this, a daily newspaper column, a monthly magazine column, and hosted a weekly radio show.
Nice.
Like, ma'am, she was podcasting before podcasting was cool.
Yep. Radio, man.
Mm-hmm. Eleanor was hoping to match her husband's income in his first year as president. She made about $75,000 that first year and gave most of it to charity. Traveled this time, she still traveled, but this time around the country. She often visited workers to hear their concerns and to assure them the White House had not forgotten about them. She was even known to like go to coal mines.
Hmm.
So like, get it, Eleanor. In early 1933, a protest group known as the Bonus Army marched on Washington again. The group of World War One veterans had marched the year before to have their bonus certificates awarded early, but Hoover sent out the military to make them disperse. But this time, Eleanor went out to their camp to sit and talk to them. One protester stated, quote, Hoover sent the army, President Roosevelt sent his wife, end quote. And I do have a little problem with that quote because it says President Roosevelt sent his wife. I don't think Franklin sent Eleanor to do shit.
She just went.
I mean, I'm sure like when she went and inspected like the facilities and stuff that the state run facilities and stuff, it was probably like, hey, do you mind going to do this? Like, we need to inspect this. And she was like, sure. She's one of his people in his like, circle of people in the governorship and White House.
Yeah.
But this, I have a feeling that this was her going, I'm gonna go talk to him. I'll just go, and he was probably like, nope, I'm gonna go talk to him. Don't tell me shit, Frank. She was also a very large woman, and he was wheelchair bound at this, or he was a wheelchair user at this point. So I'm sure she was like, "What the fuck are you gonna do about it?
Right.
What the fuck are you gonna do about it, Franklin?" I haven't actually said Franklin at all until I started reading my notes now, and it's just funny to say Franklin.
Frankie boy.
Oh, Frank.
Hey, Frank.
The American Youth Congress was formed in 1933. This organization advocated for youth rights. Eleanor became involved with the organization, and from that, the National Youth Administration. That organization was formed the same year with the mission of, quote, providing work and education for Americans between the ages of 16 and 25, end quote. In 1939, the AYC was subpoenaed by the Dyes Committee. You ever heard of the Dyes Committee?
Mm-mm.
I should do a whole fucking episode on them, too. The Dyes Committee was also known as the House Committee on Un-American Activities.
All right.
It was, quote, an investigative committee of the United States House of Representatives created in 1938 to investigate alleged disloyalty and subversive activities on the part of private citizens, public employees, and those organizations suspected of having communist ties, end quote.
No, the Red Scare.
Not the communist. I'm surprised we're not in a Red Scare now, but I think that like our generation is so unserious and we've been in crisis since we were like 12 that we just don't really give a fuck.
Pretty much.
We're just like, whatever.
Everything's
We're all gonna die.
Everything's so shitty and spread out in
Hey, guess
every
what?
shitty way that
None of us get out of this alive, so
like,
it really doesn't fucking matter.
whatever.
The leaders of the AYC were also members of the Young Communist League. Eleanor attended the hearings, then invited the witnesses to stay at the White House. In February of 1940, they were again invited to the White House, this time for a picnic. Hate that word. On the White House lawn. While there, Franklin came out to speak to them. Quote, the president admonished them to condemn not merely the Nazi regime, but all dictatorships. The president was reportedly booed by the group. End quote. You try and boo the president now, he's going to have your ass hanged.
I mean, there's plenty of people booing him now.
Oh, I know. While Eleanor still supported the organizations, the AYC was disbanded in 1940 and the NYA in 1943. During Franklin's first two terms, one of Eleanor's main projects was Arthurdale. On August 18, 1933, Eleanor had paid a visit to homeless miners and their families in Morgantown, West Virginia. These miners had been blacklisted in the coal mining industry due to their participation in union activities. Eleanor was deeply moved and proposed they be relocated to Arthurdale, West Virginia, where they could make a living, quote, by sustenance farming, handicrafts, and a local manufacturing plant, end quote. Eleanor hoped this community would be a model for future communities where workers were well cared for, and Franklin wholeheartedly supported the project. But Eleanor did run into a snag while planning her community. I'm sure,
Mothman?
huh?
Mothman?
No, he wasn't there. Mothman's a monster. He's not racist. I'm sure she knew racism existed, but this was probably the first time it affected her personally. Eleanor was hoping that Arthurdale would be mixed racially and religiously, but a community vote was held and they decided to keep the community white and Christian.
Oh boy.
So Eleanor proposed similar communities for Black and Jewish people. And I believe this is probably what really motivated Eleanor to become more outspoken on racial discrimination. Now,
Nice.
this community was an expensive project. Eleanor personally funded a portion of it and had to constantly fundraise for it. But it was also criticized on both sides of the aisle. Republicans saw it as a quote unquote socialist and communist plot, while Democrats did not want the government to compete with private business. Two wings of the same bird, folks.
Yeah.
In 1941, the US government sold their last holdings in the community and considered it lost. But for Eleanor and the residents of the town, it was a success. For the miners, it got them out of terrible conditions they were in. And for Eleanor, seeing people's lives improve was worth it to her. Eleanor is historically known to have been more advanced in civil rights than Franklin was. If it wasn't for her, many of the programs put in place during Franklin's term probably wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
After Arthurdale and inspecting the New Deal programs, Eleanor realized Black people were being discriminated against, often receiving the smallest payouts from relief funds.
Hmm.
Eleanor would routinely invite Black people to the White House. 1936, she visited the National Training School for Girls in D.C. after she had heard about the conditions at the school. She began to lobby for more money for the school and worked to change the staff and curriculum. Her hosting Black students at the White House would be used against Franklin in the 1936 election. Marian Anderson was a Black singer who had been denied the use of the Washington Constitution Hall for a performance. This decision was made by the Daughters of the American Revolution, of which Eleanor had been a member. That was until this point. After they made this decision, she resigned from the organization and helped Marion arrange another concert on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. She also arranged for Marion to perform at the White House, where Eleanor introduced her to the King and Queen of England. Eleanor also helped get Mary McLeod Beth, I have no idea how to say that last name, a Black teacher appointed as director of the Division of Negro Affairs of the National Youth Administration. Whenever Mary would visit the White House, quote, Eleanor would meet her at the gate, embrace her, and walk with her arm in arm, end quote.
Nice.
She said, you ain't fucking with my Mary. She
Right.
also kind of helped push to get the Tuskegee Airmen to be the first Black combat flight group.
Yeah.
There's a word for it.
Squadron.
Yeah, thank you. She actually went out to like visit the. I didn't write it. I had it in my notes, but I skipped it because these were long. But she had went out to their school, and the one of the instructors was a Black guy, and she got in a plane with him and went on a 30-minute flight,
Nice.
and people lost their fucking shit because the first lady was riding with a Black pilot. And they got down and they landed and she got out and she said, well, you sure can fly.
His flying Miss Daisy.
Legitimately. Sadly, while Eleanor was trying to get back or was trying to help the Black community, white communities were tarnishing her name. Mainly what were known as Franklin towns. One such town was Eleanor, West Virginia. Now, Franklin towns were kind of like what she did with Arthurdale. I guess that was like her baby, and then he was like, I should do this more. One such town was Eleanor, West Virginia. Like most of Franklin towns, this was a sundown town.
Hmm.
For those who may not know what that is, quote, sundown towns, also known as sunset towns, gray towns, or sundowner towns, were all white municipalities or neighborhoods in the United States that practice a form of racial segregation by excluding non whites via some combination of discriminatory local laws, intimidation, or violence. They were most prevalent for the night. before the 1950s. The term came into use because of signs that directed colored people to leave town by sundown, end quote. And it says they were prevalent before the 1950s. Horse shit. They're still fucking prevalent.
Right.
There are still sundown towns all over this country.
Yeah.
Hell, there was a video circulating just a week or two ago about a fucking new all white community being built.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. They're still there.
Yeah.
In 1934, Eleanor lobbied for the Costigan Wagner Bill, which would make lynching a federal crime.
Nice.
She even facilitated a meeting between Franklin and Walter Francis White, the president of the NAACP. But Franklin knew he would likely lose the election if he supported the bill, so he refused to do so, and the bill died in the Senate.
Mm.
1942, Eleanor, along with activist Polly Murray, worked to convince Franklin to intercede on behalf of a black sharecropper, Odell Waller, who was convicted of killing a white farmer during a fight. Although Franklin sent a letter to the Virginia governor urging him to commute the sentence to life, Odell was executed. Oh, goodness. Excuse me. So, like, Franklin wasn't doing the most, but he kind of did some stuff, but he was still like, I want to be president, and if I do too much for black people, I'm not going to win.
Right.
It's like, motherfucker, okay.
This was before black people could vote, though, right?
I don't actually know when black people got the right to vote. Y'all don't come at me. I know. I should know this history, but I don't. Let me see.
I think it wasn't until like the 40s or 50s
Yeah, it was a while.
or 1960s.
Black men gained the right to vote through ratification in 1870. However, many faced significant barriers and discrimination that effectively disenfranchised them until the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Okay, so it was
So
the 60s.
technically, they were allowed to vote, but with shit like they would do reading tests to see if you could read, and if you couldn't read, you weren't allowed to vote.
Right.
You had to have like a license and shit, which like a lot of people couldn't even afford like a vehicle. You
Yeah.
had to have like some kind of ID or like live in a certain area. Like,
Yeah.
the ways that white people will do everything in their power to keep us out of power.
Well, then you have gerrymandering and
Yeah,
all that
and
shit too.
redlining and all that bullshit that they're doing now.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Like you could vote, but you're technically not in the right district, so we're just gonna throw it out after you vote. What?
I, okay. Shout out to the Texas Democrats that were like, fuck y'all, we're leaving.
Hell yeah.
They just said, fuck y'all, we're going to Illinois.
Yep.
Fight me.
So they couldn't take a vote
So they could not
on the
fucking
big
vote.
bullshit of ass bill.
Mm. Eleanor became a target for white supremacists in the South due to her support of black people. Rumors began to spread of quote unquote Eleanor clubs and quote unquote Eleanor Tuesdays. The clubs were allegedly formed by servants to oppose their employers, and Tuesdays were the days black men would randomly knock down white women in the streets, though no proof of either existing has ever been found. They just want to make us look bad. For
Right.
no fucking reason. And then y'all wonder why we so mad at this point. Y'all keep saying we angry. We are now. When the quote unquote 1943 Detroit race riots broke out, many blamed Eleanor, but at the same time, Eleanor had become very popular with the black community. Many who had been lifelong Republicans due to them ending slavery and all that switched allegiance to the Democratic Party, the one that was now becoming the party of the people. And when black people switched their vote, fucking parties flipped, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Ooh, imagine that. See, they don't want to talk about the parties flipping because they don't want to understand how, yeah, black people were the Republicans because y'all set us free. But then Eleanor came along and we said, well, fuck y'all. And we went over there.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm off my birth control, y'all, so I'm a little scatterbrained. It's fine. But Eleanor was choosy about which battles she got involved in. During World War II, A. Phillips Randolph, a labor leader, attempted a personal campaign for free speech in Memphis. He was doing so after two prominent black Republicans, J.B. Martin and Robert Church Jr., were driven out of the city by E.H. Crump, the Democratic boss of Memphis. I didn't realize Memphis was such a bad place, racist place,
Yep.
terrible fucking place until after we'd went to Memphis. And now I'm like, damn, I wish I never went there. When Philip arrived in the city, Crump denied him access to venues and threatened to arrest anyone who would not rescind their speaking invitation to Philip. Philip reached out to Eleanor and asked for assistance on the matter, but she refused. In her reply to him, she wrote, I referred your letter to a friend of mine when I received it, and I am sorry it has not been answered before. I was advised not to do anything, as it might do more harm than good. End quote. And to that I say, for who? Who is it going to harm? Your husband? The Democratic Party? I don't think it's going to harm Philip or Mr. Randolph for you to speak out and be like, hey, quit being a dickhead, Crump.
Right.
But no, of course, the Democrats were like, nope, you can't speak out. We're okay with some racism. It's fine.
Right.
But when Pearl Harbor was attacked, Eleanor was very outspoken about the racial discrimination against Japanese people. She publicly called out prejudice towards that community and privately opposed her husband's orders for internment camps. So this is when George Takei got put in an internment camp with his family.
Right.
And Eleanor was there and she was like, Franklin, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
When World War II started, Eleanor threw herself into relief efforts. She began to lobby her husband to bring in more refugees fleeing from the Nazis, but Franklin was afraid of fifth columnist, think like sleeper cells, people sneaking in with the refugees, and then like boom, they're gonna do like terrorist shit.
Yeah.
So he actually buckled down on immigration.
Hmm.
Franklin passed away on April 12th, 1945. That same year, Eleanor was appointed as a delegate to the United Nations by President Truman. In April of 46, she became the first chairperson of the United Nations Commission on Human Rights, along with Renee Casson and John Peters Humphrey. Eleanor was instrumental in drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, listen, I'm already at 20 pages. There was a lot more that Eleanor did
I'm
during her
sure.
time in the governor's office, during the time in the presidential office, and after he died. But we'd be here for like 2 more days.
Yeah.
Again, this podcast is to give you a light touch of what it is. And if you want to know more, I implore you to go research. But we're going to fast forward a few years to 1960 when Eleanor was hit by a car.
Oh, geez.
It's literally all Wikipedia said. Eleanor was hit by a car.
All
What?
right.
It was like in New York. So, like 1960s in New York. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people got hit by cars.
I'm sure.
After this, she was diagnosed with aplastic anemia, which is like, if you don't know what anemia is, it's like a low iron or like a low blood cell thing, and it makes you really cold all the time. My niece has it. She's supposed to get shots.
Yeah.
In 1962, she was given a shot of a steroid that triggered a dormant case of tuberculosis in her bone marrow.
Oh, shit.
I said, they did what now? They gave her a shot of steroids, which I'm guessing was to help with her anemia, but that triggered a dormant case of tuberculosis that was hidden within her bone marrow.
That's crazy.
And on November 7th, 1962, Eleanor died in her Manhattan home from complications of consumption.
Damn.
Now, I did not know much about Mrs. Eleanor before I did this episode, but I'm glad I did it. I think Eleanor was raised to be a certain way, and that's why she held the beliefs she did when she was younger. But I think we can see as Eleanor gets older, she grows in her belief, and by the time she passed away, she was truly a champion for all people. And she wasn't perfect. After finding out about Franklin's affair, she also had one for several years. But in the end, Eleanor took a position that was meant to be a prop for a man and showed women they didn't just have to stay in their husband's shadow and they could pave their own path.
Right.
So, what do you think about Eleanor Roosevelt, Bill?
I think she was a cool lady.
She did a lot. I was like, I didn't know a lot about what she did.
Right.
I hadn't heard a lot about her, but she like did a lot, and I really think she's the reasons the parties flipped in that era.
I'm sure.
Because she was like, okay, well, we're gonna make this the party about helping people, and people were like, what?
You know what the first thing was whenever I Googled her name
What?
that came up? The Fast and Furious car.
Eleanor?
Eleanor.
I don't remember the Fast and Furious car,
Excuse
Eleanor.
me. It wasn't Fast and Furious. It was Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
And then I seen another picture
The
where
Mustang.
the girl from X Files was
Hmm.
gonna play her in a movie.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Gillian Anderson. She was gonna play Eleanor Roosevelt
Huh.
in one of the like in a movie or a show or something.
There was a movie that came out in the early aughts or maybe the 2010s about Eleanor that somebody played her in it.
Might have been her.
And yeah, she wasn't conventionally attractive, but she was a handsome man, and she just, I don't know, I didn't realize she had done so much for people.
Right.
Like, to become the first chair of the United Nations Commission on Human Rights.
Yeah, you have to be a good person
If
to
that
be in the
doesn't tell
UN.
you that she truly, honestly cared about people,
Yeah.
I mean, this woman saw World War II happen. This woman saw World War I happen. She saw all this shit happen. Civil rights movement, Reconstruction era, Jim Crow laws. She wanted what was right for people. And I think she was pretty awesome
The United Nations gets a lot of pushback from governments because they don't like
because the
their
governments want money and power and
right.
control. And the United Nations is like, how about you take care of your people?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they're like, but that would cost us money. Like, yeah, it does. It costs money to have people live. Imagine that. All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed this episode this week. Hope you guys have a good week, and we will see you guys later.
Be kind to each other.
Love you. Bye.
Love you guys. Bye.